Ladies and gentlemen, we are very much delighted and honored to have with us live here in the studio Dr. Alaa, medical industries expert and fellow of the American College of Cardiology. Thank you very much for being with us, sir.
Thank you.
And well, as I said in my intro, this episode is going to be totally dedicated to medical or pharmaceutical industries here in Egypt. And in the latest statements which were released by the Ministry of Immigration, as it's going to sponsor the coming conference of Egypt Can, or the 6th edition of the conference to be accurate, under the title of Egypt Can with Industry. One or two, to be accurate, of the most important sessions of this conference are going to tackle two main topics. We're going to start with the first, which is medical industries in Egypt. First, how do you see the choice of this? How do you see the future of this kind of industry here in Egypt, and particularly tackling it in this conference? Of course, there is a lot of significant indicators we have.
Yes, sure. We have significant indicators here in Egypt, and since we are moving steadily into a prosperous future, although the whole world is having a lot of turmoils and a lot of imbalances all over the world, but we are here as stable as or as solid as a rock. Mm-hmm. And we have started already years back, very few years back, we have started into establishing solid ground in pharmaceutical industries and even in food industries, and hopefully in the next era we will choose the medical industries to be included. Mm-hmm. Let me give you a very brief about what has been happening in the medical and pharmaceutical industries in Egypt.
Please.
Yes. We had a joint facility has been inaugurated last year, and President Abdel Fattah Sisi himself has attended the inauguration of Gypto Pharma, and this is one of the giant, we call it a medicine city, or mm-hmm. The media calls it medicine city. I actually call it the pharma city, mm-hmm. Because it's mainly for the production of pharmaceutical products. Mm-hmm. This is beside, of course, the Vaxera that we have been having for a long time for producing vaccines, which has helped Egypt to come over or to overcome the consequences of the coronavirus. Yes. In the past 2 years. Mm-hmm. And I'm not disclosing a secret that we have been manufacturing one of the Chinese products that is using a kill virus, the technology of a kill virus.
Yes, Sinovac.
Yeah, the Sinovac, yes, yeah. Is being produced here. Mm-hmm. And just a couple of weeks ago, there is something has really changed the look into the Egyptian society or Egypt. That the WHO has approved or has recommended very few countries to start the production of vaccines that are not
the Chinese one.
I wouldn't say Chinese. I mean adopting the technology of the killed viruses or the attenuated viruses. Mm-hmm. It's another type of a more advanced technology. It's called the mRNA, mm-hmm. which is messenger ribonucleic acid, which is very advanced type of vaccine. Mm-hmm. And of course, it's the most efficient in the whole world, and only 2 international companies are manufacturing these in the whole world. Mm-hmm. Now, choosing Egypt among very few countries to start processing or producing this type of vaccine, from their point of view, it's an overseas. We are an overseas or an offshore country for them. And this is to be manufactured outside the USA.
And this means that we do have the infrastructure and we do have the human capital.
Yes, we have the infrastructure now. Mm-hmm. Maybe a long time before, or if we were talking 2 or 3 years back, we didn't have this facility, but now we are ready. In Egypt, we are witnessing, I always say it's a renaissance mm-hmm. era, that we can produce high-tech products And I'm really, I wouldn't say surprised. I was personally expecting that, but a lot of people has been surprised when they have announced that Egypt are among of few countries that are permitted, or they will transmit the technology to produce the mRNA vaccine.
Yeah.
This is a breakthrough in the medical field.
I think, sir, it's normal that the high-ranking or the top multinational pharmaceutical companies are putting an eye on the countries who had such successes in the field of health, and with the presidential initiatives like 100 million health initiative, like eradicating virus C, like just also eliminating, or at least having dwindling lists of those who were waiting to have their very serious surgeries. All these things already took place in the past very few years, and it was such a global phenomenon to speak about Egypt as just declaring no more virus C patients, or that we are already on the right track to get rid of this nightmare, which was unfortunately prevailing for years and years. These things were among the factors behind choosing Egypt, as you've kindly mentioned, to be one of the very few countries to develop or to manufacture those very effective kinds of vaccines.
Yes, sure. Well, thank you very much for drawing the light onto these issues, because actually this is a fact. And now I'm very proud being an Egyptian and announcing that before we were not able to compete in the high-tech technology. It's not only in the medical field, but even in the nanotechnology, or even into other parts of artificial intelligence. We will be coming to another issue. We'll be discussing this in details, which is coming very soon on the 26th and 28th of March. Over 8 sessions, there will be
two sessions related to this.
Well, actually, yes. There are 2 sessions related to this.
Number one?
Number one is, of course, the medical industries. And I would like to focus here even on the difference between the medical industries and the pharma industries, because some of the viewers are not really familiar with the difference.
Sure.
When we are talking about medicine, just like the Medicine City or Gyptopharma, which I call Pharma City, this is regarding drugs.
Yes.
When we are talking about drugs, pills,
medications.
ampoules and medications and things like this. Medical products is a huge business.
Yes.
We are talking about 2 billion pounds worth of importation that we are importing from overseas into the country for medical products, just like we call it consumables or disposables, that are anything that you see in the hospital that is for one-time use. This business is a 2 billion pounds worth of business.
Drugs packaging is another side of the coin. And I also think that it's worth billions of dollars. True?
I wouldn't say billions of dollars, but it's a lot of money that is doing that. And they are doing this, or they have it in the plan into Gyptopharma or the Medicine City, so that they would just avoid importing all these kind of aluminum very thin films, so that you can have it in a sort of covering for the capsules and things like this. What I'm talking about is another business which is called the medical consumable business. And we are importing a huge amounts, we are spending a huge amount of US dollars. Now I'm taking the opportunity of just announcing or discussing that this is a very strategic business, and now the whole world is suffering because of their importation of some agricultural products due to the current political situation between 2 countries, whether in Europe or in Asia. What about if this happens in one of our main sources for the medical consumables? I cannot name countries that we are importing from. But now I am just highlighting the importance of having our self-sufficient manufacturing of medical products that has been growing in Egypt in the past few years. But we need a sort of breakthrough, just like Gyptopharma, but for the
Or
medical
the
products.
syringe itself is going to be sold in a black market, for example. And this is something which, of course, we do not want to happen. Regarding investment in this kind of industry, sir, how do you see the opportunities?
Well, actually, thank you for raising this question, because this was my next point to discuss.
It's very much related, because if this field is attractive for investors, whether from Egypt, from the Arab or the international arenas, meaning that we should have a lot of things to do, a lot of steps. What's our homework?
Yeah, well, that's a lot of homework. Let me put it that way. That's a lot of homework that we have to do. But mind you, they are having their eyes. All the international investors are having their eyes on Egypt. It's not only because Egypt has got a very important market of 110 million, but Egypt is a gateway to Africa. And Africa is a continent you thought you knew. That means, do you have any idea how many countries we have in Africa? I mean, I'll make it easy on you. We have 54 countries in Africa. And the population of Africa is approaching 1.4 billion. 1.4 billion inhabitants. So that's a huge market. The main issue of an investor who would like to come into manufacturing, that he would like to make sure that he has got a market for his product. Now, I guarantee the market. I have a huge demand for what I'm talking about. It's not only in Egypt, but I'm talking about the 1.4 billion in Africa, and Egypt is a gateway. Now, Egypt has been investing in the past few years with the current leadership into the infrastructure. Nobody, or a lot of people could not understand how this infrastructure can benefit us. But whenever we have this solid infrastructure, this is a very good media for us to export. We can utilize a lot of products for the Egyptian population, which is approaching 110 million.
To fulfill the needs of our local market, and after that to think about exporting, and maybe it's time to think in both directions in the very same time.
Yes, you are correct 100%. And as I said, to start, we need to fulfill the local needs of the local market, which is guaranteed if I have the power to produce massive quantities. Then, as I said, I have the customer, and the customer is waiting and striving.
Sir, as you were talking, I don't know why I was dreaming of logistical zones in the new Suez Canal, and just watching here an industrial zone of one of the very important countries in this field, having joint relations and joint projects with the Egyptian counterpart, taking into consideration that whenever they are there in the new Suez Canal, it's going to be that easy for transportation and for being the gate to Africa and maybe to the whole world. These are dreams, or it's a process which should be going on even as we speak?
Well, actually, I like the way you are insinuating the facts that the current leadership has found and has realized this, and that's why we are having, I'm not disclosing a secret, but we are having a huge investments in Ain al-Sokhna port.
Sure.
And it's becoming it's not only a port, a regular port, but it's going to be a mega port. And if you combine this with the new railroad that is coming all the way from Al Alamein up to Al Sokhna, passing through the new administrative
and Al Adabiyya.
Exactly.
Yes.
It can give you an indication that we are ready for export. Now, once you have a port on the Red Sea, then you have your gateway to Eastern Africa.
Yep.
I mean, we can always reach, and we used to reach Africa, but it's always airborne, which makes it very difficult for us to export into Africa because of logistic issues and, of course, expenses. But now when we have a ground transport and we have sea transport, products will easily reach East Africa and then Central Africa with a less expensive, and I wouldn't say faster, but it will not take that much time. But in
You know, sir, also you're reminding me of very important topics which were raised in the speeches of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi just 3 years ago when we were the chairperson, or when Egypt was the chairperson of the African Union. Infrastructure, infrastructure, infrastructure. Developing the intra-Africa infrastructure is going to help all the African nations to go forward, to move forward, to achieve sustainable development in all fields, and in particular here, if we are speaking about investing in the medical industries field with infrastructure, it's going to be faster, because when you've just said, I'm not saying it's going to be faster. No, it's going to be faster with modern, developed infrastructure. True?
Yes, and actually, what you are saying will be discussed in session 3 in the upcoming conference on the 27th and 28th of March. Session 3 is dedicated to expansion into Africa, and one of the issues which will be discussed, of course, the huge infrastructure that has been ready in Egypt, mainly the huge Suez Canal project, and as well as the sea transport, into which will make it easier to transport to Africa. And as I said, we are talking about 1.4 billion
people.
People are striving, and they are importing their products from a far away. With the exception of South Africa, of course, which they have a reasonable manufacturing facilities, but definitely we will expand to Africa. Now, coming back to one of the main purpose of this program today is, well, the name is Money Means Business. Yes, and this is a very good opportunity for us to revive the Nile Health Project.
Now, this is going to be right after the report we are going to have, but before going to our report, I'd like to speak about another factor, if you permit me. The African states or the African nations trust in the Egyptian medications or in the Egyptian drug. How do you see this as another factor of suggesting, or not just suggesting, of taking into consideration that, inshallah, this is going to be a story of success, turning Egypt into a medical industries hub?
Well, yes, definitely. You can also, if you look into the map of the export to African countries through drugs or through pharmaceutical products, you will see it increasing day after day. And that's what we are planning to use, doing the same into the medical field or the medical products field. And that's what we are looking for, is to use the expertise or the image that has been, and the reputation of the Egyptian pharmaceutical industries, to start to push for the medical industries. And then again, I'm taking this opportunity to to address investors all over the world. I mean, as I said, it's Africa, it's a continent you thought you knew. And one more thing I would like to add is to come to the land of opportunity, come to the Pharaoh's country. I mean, we are as solid as 7,000 years ago, and we will be there for a long time, I hope. So it's the investment media is now solid, and revenues are almost guaranteed. Customers are ready. So what we are looking for now is a presidential initiative to include the medical consumable products with a presidential initiative. And this is, of course, to our President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, if he may allow us with a presidential initiative. We will do that in Egypt. I
We're
hate
sure
to see
that
it. Yeah.
it's taking into consideration, and tomorrow is going to be a better day regarding this, and inshallah we are going to duplicate the successes of the other health presidential initiatives, all for the best interest of the Egyptian people, the Egyptian citizen. Right after this detailed report about the medical and pharmaceutical industries in Egypt, we are going to return back with more, so stay tuned.
A number of drug manufacturers and exporters believe that the inauguration of a drug city in Egypt has a positive effect on providing medicines and drugs to citizens at reduced prices, as well as increasing exports, reducing the import bill, and attracting and thus demand for them from African countries and the Middle East will increase, especially since their production will be at competitive prices compared to importing them from European countries.
Welcome back. Returning back to my dear guest live here in the studio, our medical industries expert, Dr. Alaa Assal. Sir, Nile Health Initiative. Let me know more.
Yeah, well, Nile Health project is an optimistic project. It's similar to Gypto Pharma, which is dedicated for pharmaceutical industry. Nile Health project is the same idea, but for different type of products, which is the medical consumable products.
Okay.
Now, as I said, I wanted to highlight the importance of the medical consumables in Egypt. As I said earlier, we are spending millions of dollars into importing these products. We have a lot of factories that are locally manufacturing certain products. You just mentioned syringes that are being manufactured in more than a dozen small factories here in Egypt. They are not supplying, of course, not even 50% of the local demand.
Yep.
And then now the whole world is moving into self-destructive syringes. We have a problem of reusing of syringes, not only in Egypt, but in all over the world.
Worldwide, yeah.
So now they have started to use self-destructive syringes. For your information, in Egypt, we have only 2 factories that are using this technique. All the other factories, one is in production, and the other one is really building up their production lines, and they are not ready in the market yet.
Till the moment,
Till the moment. So we have only one factory that is producing destructive syringes. There are other dozens of syringe suppliers that they do not use this technology. This is just one item. We are still importing the medical plastic. These products are made of a special type of PVC that are being used with a raw material called medical plastic.
Yep.
Now we are importing all these medical plastic
Kind of polyethylene.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a sort of polyethylene, yes. And we are importing these products from overseas. Now just imagine if for a reason or another we are not able to import this medical plastic. What happens to all these kind of factories?
Then the answer is it's a must to localize this kind of industry, among others, of course.
Exactly, and as you can see, wars happens, and there are a lot of conflicts all over the world, and we could witness something like this from any kind of situation.
So we aren't going to mention countries, but are there some countries which are monopolizing this kind of industry, or it's open to the whole world?
No, it's not open to the whole world, of course.
This is it. How to get rid of this obstacle, because this can be one of the main obstacles on the way.
If I have the know-how, then we don't have a problem as a country.
Okay.
But all what we need is a presidential initiative, exactly the same initiative of Gyptopharma and Silo Food. We have done Gyptopharma.
So this Nile Health initiative is going to answer my question?
Yes, sure. It's
Okay.
going to answer your question. If we get it, as I said, this is a reach out to President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, is if he can, of course, among all his different aspects that he's taking care of, because he's taking care of 110 million people living in Egypt.
But he is putting education and health on the first priorities, so this is included. Amen to that. I'm sure.
Yeah,
of it.
yeah. Well, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's hope that this will be
Let's
discussed.
continue with the steps to be taken. Is it to afford the technology? Is it to qualify the human cadres? Is to know the know-how, as you've kindly mentioned? Is it all these things together? And to what extent this is a must to start yesterday, not even now?
Well, you have raised a very important issue, which is we really need to start yesterday into this. I hope that we can get a presidential initiative to start working on this. If we have this, we have the manpower, we have the technology, we have the know-how, and this is, and I'm not disclosing a secret, that I'm getting a lot of phone calls, a lot of contacts from investors all over the world, and some of them are really interested to come into the medical field of Egypt. We need to provide them with a viable program or a viable sort of visibility study, which is applicable whenever we have a presidential initiative.
Then in Egypt, in this edition of the conference, such important issues are going to be raised in many of the 8 sessions which are going to take place in this edition of the conference, the 6th edition of the conference, to be accurate.
Yes. Well, actually, this is one of the main themes of session 7. Session 7, the 7th session of the upcoming conference on the 27th or 28th of March is dedicated to medical industries. I hope that the whole session will not be consumed for pharmaceuticals. As I said, when we are talking about medical products, then it comes up to the normal people. Then we are talking about medications, or we are talking about Medicine City. I sincerely hope that we can find a space in session 7 so that we can discuss
They are
the future.
two sides of the very same coin. I mean, they are very much comprehensive and related to each other. How I can separate this kind of industry from that one?
Well, you cannot. You cannot. But as I said, the drug and pharma industry is always taking priority 1, of course, because it directly affects the health of citizens. So that's why it usually takes the first initiative. But now this has been put on the correct track. As I said, it's already there and it's already producing, and we have 3 different phases for the Medicine City. Phase 1 is almost completed. We are going into phase 2 and phase 3. What I would like to do is to initiate Project Nile Health in Egypt. I would love to do this project in Egypt.
Inshallah.
I do not want this to be taken to Jabal Ali or to any other area where the same concept will be there. We would like to start this in Egypt, and we used to be leaders, and we are leaders in different aspects. I would hope,
Pioneers, to be accurate.
I would say I would agree with your statement, and I really hope with your programs and our viewers and investors all over the world coming up to Egypt, we are just waiting for as I said, if this will be put in the agenda of a presidential initiative.
Inshallah. Regarding the memos of understanding and the joint projects and agreements which are signed between Egypt and many of the high-ranking pharmaceutical multinational companies worldwide, to to do many things, whether to have their products here, whether to help us in digitalizing our medical services. How do you see these things, sir? Because these things, whenever they are taking place here, they are also adding to the trust of these international or global medical industries, health entities, and our side. True?
It is very correct, and actually, even in the same conference we're talking about, they have dedicated a session for artificial intelligence, because Egypt has realized the importance of artificial intelligence in industry, and that's why they are dedicating a full session for artificial intelligence. Now, whenever, as I said, just a proof that we are in a way into the correct track, when the WHO realizes and issues a statement that Egypt is well qualified to receive the technology of the mRNA, which is, I would say, is a scientific breakthrough for countries. I would say we are the only one in Africa that will be doing this.
Sir, do you think that the whole world, when it comes to the medical industries in general, after COVID-19 is going to be the same, or their priorities are going to be different?
Well, that's a tough question, but definitely the priorities are going to be different.
Yeah, because you would find those two main American and European-based high-ranking pharmaceutical industries or pharmaceutical companies, they are now leading the map because of being the sole owners of those very effective vaccines, or for some other reasons?
I wouldn't say that. Definitely, of course, there will be other reasons, but
Okay.
I do not want
Let's focus on this reason. Yeah.
Definitely, there are other reasons as well, but mind you, I mean, this legend that all the technology is coming from Europe or from the Western country or from the States is no longer applicable. It's coming again from the East, and it's coming from the Far East.
Yes.
And let me tell you that the main supplier of the medical plastic that we were talking about is really in the Far East.
Okay.
Is not coming from a Western country anymore.
I'm not surprised, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would
and
like.
we should not be surprised, to be accurate. Yeah.
Yes, I would like to be there. I mean, we are growing. For our new republic, I would like to be there as an Egyptian. I would like Egypt to be on the map. I mean, we are no less than the other Far Eastern countries. We have the technology, we have the manpower, we have the brains, and we have the know-how. Investors are there. We can initiate these projects locally.
And the private sector should have a big role, and marketing should have a big role. So it's not only doctors or physicians or pharmacists, it's also businessmen and those who have a panoramic view of the investment map, not only in Egypt, but in the whole area and in the whole continent, to be accurate. And here, if you permit me, I'd like just to say something about the AHE, the Organization of the African Health, ESCON. In Egypt is a golden opportunity for the country to become a hub for exporting pharmaceutical products to Africa. Well, these were the statements which were said by His Excellency Gareth Bally, the British ambassador to Egypt. The AHE is a pharmaceutical exhibition that will be held in Egypt for the very first time in June. How do you see, sir, this opportunity and having this platform as this conference as a platform to say that we are the gate to Africa in pharmaceutical industries and medical industries at large?
Well, actually, you raised an issue that is really supporting what I was telling you. Is the whole world is realizing that Egypt is a gate, is the gateway to Africa, and that's why they have chosen Egypt. And in the upcoming conference in June, they are putting a trust in Egypt. And I think we are trustworthy.
Amen. And if you permit me, I'd like to add or to say some of the statements by His Excellency, the British Ambassador to Egypt, and to, for you, of course, to elaborate on that. We believe that Egypt can be a hub for Africa and the Middle East region, as well in the pharmaceutical sector. There is an ambition for the pharmaceutical exports to reach European countries. These were the statements which were said by His Excellency, the British Ambassador to Egypt. Then, what's the image of Egypt in Europe?
Well, it's clear. I mean, it's a self-answering question.
Yeah.
But then again, the world is being, I wouldn't say manipulated, but we used in the past 30 years to know that there is only one superpower. And people thought that now there is a second superpower. That is, if you look into the political window of the world. What I'm saying, it's not only two powers, it's three powers. And there are a third power that is being accumulated. And Egypt, I do not want to go into political issues, but Egypt is one part, one major arm or heart of this consortium that will be constituting a third power.
As if those who were attending the press conference which announced that this event is going to take place in Egypt, as if they are here or listening to you, sir. The forum is meant to be a link of the medical systems in African countries under one umbrella. To enhance trade relations, support foreign direct investment, create new job opportunities, to guarantee high-level knowledge transfer, all this in the pharmaceutical and medical industries, and this is all going to be here in Egypt.
Yeah, well, I was not aware of what the ambassador has said. Actually, I was not following what was said literally, but it's amazingly concurring with what I have been
Coinciding
discussing.
with what we were saying.
Yeah. It is coinciding very well with what we are saying here. So all what we need now, as I said, is a presidential initiative, and through your program, and for our viewers all over the world, I'm saying again, come to the land of opportunities, come to the Pharaoh's country.
Because simply we deserve. Then, optimistic about the future of this very crucial industry here in Egypt?
Well, as I said before, I mean, the most difficult part of any manufacturer, and obviously any manufacturer or any investor is looking for revenues,
yes,
and is looking for profit. Now, what I guarantee here is, you mentioned something very important, which is marketing.
Yep.
Now, I'm trying to save on marketing expenses because I'm telling to our investors all over the world, I have the customer. The customer is ready, and it's not only in Egypt, it's all over Africa. So the most difficult part of selling a product is not there anymore.
So
if we're talking about Egypt.
We build it, then you come. Well, Dr. Alaa Assal, medical industry expert and a fellow of the American College of Cardiology, I really enjoyed my time, sir, but unfortunately we are running out of time. We are going to leave you with a promise to see you again in more episodes of our program. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, by this we come to the end of this episode of Money Means Business. To meet again same time on Al TV International, on behalf of my dear colleague Yamin Nadeem, Kamil Ali, and myself, Yamin Abdurrahman, many thanks for watching.